Jesse Aguilar is a killer. A jury found him guilty of a 2014 murder, and he's serving life in prison without the possibility of parole. But investigators say he is still calling shots for a gang in Calwa using smuggled phones. They say he frequently contacted Juan Venegas, who relayed Aguilar's orders down the line. Earlier this year, detectives say Venegas had a new message from Aguilar.
You already know what time it is. All right,
But Venegas didn't want to discuss it over the phone with a teenage gang member.
Given the other things they were willing to talk about on the phone, Venegas and Peter G. willing to talk about on the phone, that whatever those messages are were so significant or incriminating that they couldn't be discussed on the phone.
Investigators say Aguilar ordered retribution against a gang member who killed one of their own without his permission. Venegas and the teenager talked about taking guns to a meeting at Calwa Park in early October to carry out Aguilar's wishes.
I know.
Detectives intercepted the message, and sheriff's deputies sent marked police cars to the park that morning to scare the gang members out of committing any violence. Venegas showed up to the park and got pulled over when he drove away.
I found an unserialized 9mm semi-automatic polymer 80 ghost gun pistol. It was loaded with 17 unfired cartridges.
His defense attorney questioned whether the evidence proves any crime.
Buenos dias, Gunners Collective. Back at it, you already know. Here's another one. She said, what? Woman with bad habits. Fire up. I started breakdancing like Turbo. I do the don't rock the GoBot, the robot. Hey, you already know what it is in a Menudo Sounded direct fashion. You guys see the thumbnail right there. So let's get straight into it. But before we do that, man, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button right here on Gunners Collective, because you just done seen that, man. Perro Chatos, the Bulldogs, the Fresnal, right? Central Valley, Northern Cali, whatever you want to call it, man. Fresno Bulldogs are running wild like a fucking Hulkamaniac. Now, I've always gave respect to the Fresno Bulldogs. You guys know that first and foremost, man. It just is what it is. But this story right here I'm about to tell you kind of throws me for a loop, because I was under the assumption that the Bulldogs didn't have leadership, that the Bulldogs were kind of renegades or rebellious to a cause or a structure. They kind of just did whatever the fuck they wanted to do. That's the Fresno way. You know, that's the way I seen it. See, because I've seen every different part of it. I've seen it when they were structured, when they were F-14ers, when they were Norteños functioning with the homies. And then I seen them split apart and kind of be in disarray. And some of them lean towards lean back. Some of them lean towards the south. Some of them lean towards the north. And then they started leaning their own ways after they sipped a little V8. I seen it all. But it seems like they have a little bit of leadership, allegedly. Now, I don't want to make, I don't want to try to get anyone validated or get all eyes on this individual. But this individual right here, according to what the authorities think, the Placas think, is that he plays some type of leadership role and is key into what's going on out there in the Bulldogs. Now, this guy's doing life, vida, without. He's done, right? Cancel Christmas. Quite understandable when you get caught up on cases, murder charges. Now, I don't know if he has appeals or what's going on. But I know this Vato Paya, Jesse Aguilar, definitely rings bells. His name rings bells in the city of Fresno, right? He's a very well-known individual, and he's doing life. Caught a murder case, and it is what it is. But what they're trying to say is that this guy is basically running the Fresno Bulldogs, or maybe not necessarily all the Fresno Bulldogs, because there's so many different clicas. You have the Ruthless Thug Life, RTLs, Lewis Street, Bond, Park Side, North Side, West Side, East Side, fucking the other side. They got so many different vadus and clicas, Pleasant Street, Stand Up, Respects, homes to the north side of Fresno, that this vato was from Calwa. Now, Calwa Bulldogs, are very vicious and violent clica, but there are a lot of youngsters, man. There's some OGs from Calwa, don't get it twisted, but a lot of the ones that I've ever met from Calwa are youngsters. They're like in a young up-and-coming clica of Fresno. Not saying that they haven't been around for a long time, because they have. The whole city of Calwa's been banging, doing their thing. But that section right there definitely are a younger, crazier attitude. So I could see them electing a leader, putting a vato that's an OG in the leadership role. and letting that vato be the dictation of what they got going on. I can see that. See, every gang, every hood, every barrio, maybe might not necessarily have reglas or have rules or, you know, or adhere to politics or whatever the case may be. But at the same time, there's always going to be OGs, vatos that have heavy influence because of the work they put in, because of the type of character that they display, just because of the real one that they are, man. You can't deny it. I can't deny it. The vato straight giant. You don't want to fuck with a G. And you see the gun rolling like E. Right? You just know what it is. Look, I'm going to tell you guys right now. Pensa la tira. Here's some knowledge you can't get in college. Every bulldog that I've ever ran into, man, none of them like to listen to any type of bullshit. None of them like the structure. That's why the Bulldogs pulled away from the Norteño movement and the Norteño cause, because they didn't want to adhere to structure anymore. They wanted to be their own men. That's one thing about Fresno. It's out there in the water homes. Every different clique, every different gang, albeit they might have rules within their hood or whatever, they're renegades, eh? They just do whatever the fuck that they want to do. You know, that's why it's so hard to lock them down or clamp them down, man, because you just don't never know who they're going at it with. Them Bulldogs take on everybody, homes. They might be cool with you one day, but tomorrow they might bite your ankle off. It's just the way it is. And I've always known that. You know, I've seen them go from certain yards where they're cool with Southsiders, homes, and then go to certain yards and they fucking are cool with Northerners, right? So I've seen a little bit of everything. Of course, nowadays we know they're segregated. Well, they're starting to intermingle and mix them up. And they're slowly and progressively, man, bringing them into the fold with other people. And I've heard so many different rumors that, you know, maybe they might get back with the Norteños or maybe they won't. And, you know, to each their own. It's none of my business what they do. But at the same time, this story is about this vato Paya, you know, Jesse Aguilar, and his leadership role. So he's fighting a case, right? And this case, it seemed like they were targeting the Cowboy Bulldogs for a minute, the Fresno Police Department. You know, we seen the gang mother thing, you know, they were trying to say that this woman was buying guns for her kids, man. I don't know how true that is. You know, it seemed like, you know, she won a lawsuit against the Fresno Police Department and they were trying to do whatever they could to sabotage and hinder her progression, right? That's just how it is. You got to expect that, man. If you ever win, you didn't win. You know, they let you think you won for a second or two. But in real life, homeboy, you ain't won shit. What you won is, you know what I mean? Pass go, don't collect 200. You're lucky that they even let you pass go. That's facts. Monopoly shit. But it seems like they were targeting this clica of the Bulldogs. And this guy, Jesse Aguilar, having been behind bars and incarcerated and having heavy influence, it seemed like they used him, or they're using him as a scapegoat to pin and point blame, man, so that they could try to tear this clica up, so they could try to tear this gang down, because they're mad for some reason. Maybe they are out there rocking worlds. Maybe they are out there putting in the work, man. One never knows, does one. I'm not out there like that. But one thing I know for sure is they're definitely saying that this guy is the one pulling the strings. So he's got a case where allegedly they got him on wiretap. Who would have thunk it, huh? Pensa. Wiretap game is real, man. They got him on the wiretap saying, you know, coded messages or whatever the case may be, blappers and this and that, jammers or whatever the fuck they were saying. Kool-Aid jammers. That sounds bomb. I can't drink one. I got diabetes. Anyways, they got this guy on tape, and I guess one of his underlings or someone that rocked with him, his camarada, his boy, was basically running the show out there while he was incarcerated. Now, we all seen movies, eh? You know what I mean? Hey, they were so lame, they paid for the game. I could run it from solitary. And that's righteous and real. Most leadership, most people that have that mentality, man, that are in that role, that have that status because they've achieved it righteously, do it from behind walls. You got to understand that just like we know who's who and what's what, the administration, the police know who's who and what's what. And they do their damnedest and their best to keep these guys confined and segregated from everybody else because they know the influence that these guys have. Very powerful individuals. So this guy, Jesse Aguilar, they consider him a powerful individual. Now, one thing that's good for him is him being a Fresno Bulldog. He's an exception to a lot of the rules. So you had vatos like Phantom that were on death row, who's also a Bulldog from the east side of Fresno. And he was well documented in, you know, the History Channel, whatever channel he was on. And then I did an interview with them, and several others did interviews with them. And I can say righteously, respectfully, you know, I did time in YA with Phantom. He's a real one. No doubt about it. But they tried to keep him away, not only because he was doing physically harm, allegedly, to his cellies, but because of the influence that he had, just because of the way he was and the work he put in. Well, Jesse Aguilar Paya is considered the same. The administration got all eyes on him. They're watching this vato very closely, you know. He hit my radar a while back, man. I was talking to a homeboy at Fresno, and he was like, the homeboy Paya this, he's over here locked up, that. And I was like, was that right? And I was like, I've been hearing his name. He said, yeah, he's an old school F14 or original. And I said, okay, because that's the type of bulldogs I fucked with and functioned with for so many years. The F14, I'm gonna keep it real, eh? These young bulldogs, they're different. That's it. I don't want no smoke, right? No problems. Let them pull out the whoppers or whatever they do. You know, they're in the middle of the street, Edgared out, fucking getting hyphy, and I'm cool with that. That's cool. But at the same time, a lot of the bulldogs that I functioned with and did time with and was carnales with, homes, camaradas with, good homeboys with, were F14 bulldogs, the original. You know, and still had a lot of love and respect for the Norteño movement. Although, albeit they were doing their own thing and I already knew what time it was, at the same time, in the meantime, in between time, homes, they definitely showed love and respect for the Norteños. And that was it, you know. As you can see in some of these pictures, that Vato Paya has the F14 across his head. Now, I noticed, and you notice that Phantom has it on his stomach. I noticed a lot of the old school bulldogs, that is a time and a place of their history, so they don't cover it. Now, I have seen some bulldogs cover the 14, maybe disrespect the Huelga birds, the symbolization of the Norteño movement, but at the same time, a lot of the old school F14ers don't, because they want people to know they come from that original stock. They were cut from that cloth, homes. They ain't new to this. They're true to this. See, the original F14 bulldog movement was a very vicious group within the familia, within the system of the Norteño cause, right? And the F14ers were deep, man. They felt that if for no other reason, they should shy away, do their own thing, homes. And they rebelled against the Norteños. And we already know, man, it's not water under the bridge. It's water all over the fucking bridge and sangre. It's just how it is, man. The bulldogs and the Norteños have been going at it for decades now. And I was part of that guerra, part of that war, man. I was right involved in it, albeit not in prison, more so in YA, because by the time I got to doing prison time and function within the prison system, bulldogs were kept segregated as they are now. But like I said, they're starting to intermingle and inject them into certain places like Pelican Bay, Corcoran, High Desert. They're going places, right? I know a lot of people like to believe that the bulldogs are scared to hit main lines and don't want to handle their business, but that's far from the truth. The fact remains, and the fact is that these fucking perro chatos will bite your tippy toes off if they see you. They'll get off where they're mad at. That's just the bulldog aggression. That's the way they are, homes. You know, I'm not jocking them or giving them too much love. I'm just keeping it real. You know, every Mexicano needs to be respected, homes. It's all about brown pride. That's what we does, cuz. On power! You know what I mean? If Wack was hunting right here, he'd be like, oh, Pablo, them bulldogs crazy, cuz. I mean, blood. Right here, look around and shit. You know what I mean? You ain't a switch artist like G-Face, are you? Anyways, so one thing I could say about this Vato Paya is this case that they got, it's an ugly case. I mean, although they do have him on wiretaps, they're trying to make him into this fucking godfather or this leader, this John Gotti of the bulldogs. And I've never known the bulldogs to have vatos in the leadership roles like that. Vatos actually calling cuetes, but maybe I'm wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong. Don't say too much though, because that gets people watch. But I don't know if that's the truth or if that's facts. You know, I always truly believe that every bulldog is independent and they have independent thinking. Of course, within their functionalities or however they function, you know, there's certain things you do's and don'ts. You can't have weird cases, of course, and you can't, you know, go against the grain and tell on people. Do things like that, of course, man, that's not going to be good in any fucking group. But at the same time, they're a very unstructured group, a very rebellious group that I've always seen. You know, I remember at one point in time, they were so rebellious in the city of Fresno. This was like the early 90s, mid 90s, man. I was cool with a lot of Fresno boys, man. A lot of Fresno 14ers, a lot of bulldogs. And they used to tell me, man, that there was actually a task force called Magic that was actually set in place to eradicate the bulldogs from the face of the earth, right? They wanted to get these motherfuckers out of the way like Gazoo's big head, you know what I mean? They needed to take the bulldogs out of the way because the bulldogs were sporadic. When I say sporadic, meaning their crimes were all the time, but you never know what they were going to do and where they were going to pop up because they were unstructured. See, when you have an unstructured group, man, they're harder to maintain and control. Because vatos have independent thinking, so they're going to do what they do. From every clique is going to vary. Some are going to be a little bit more structured. They're going to have OGs that they listen to. Some are going to be like, fuck you, puto, and just do their thing. And bulldog it on, right? That's just the way it is, man. They're the one group that I know of, and there's several other maybe PC or dropout gangs that have decided to go against the grain, and they're doing their thing the same way. They kind of model the bulldogs. Not saying that bulldogs are a dropout gang whatsoever. They're actually a functioning group, you know, that are active. They do have non-active bulldogs like the cutthroat dogs and whatever. And I've spoken on that before. That's their business. Whatever they got going on, homes, you know, whoever wins, wins. I have no horse in the race. But this Vato Paya, they're saying he's a leader. And You know, I can understand him being OG and respected, but I can't understand him being a leader of a gang. Maybe his group, maybe he's the OG of his clica, so he's looked at, you know, in high regards and respected. Maybe that's the case. But what these placas are trying to do is they're trying to pin leadership roles on these guys to try to give them that structurability, try to make them structured, right? Did I even make words up right there? Structurability? Fuck it, I do that, cuz, you know what I mean? That bang, bang. So they're trying to make this guy into like a godfather. And let me tell you what happens in this case, man. That's another way to validate the Bulldogs, man. That's another way to say that this group is becoming structured, that they're becoming more of a security threat. You know, anything that's done within the system or even on the streets is done for reasons. That no one does nothing without a reason behind it. It's not me, I'm going to go to the bank, eh? You going to put some money out? I'm going to pull a whole lot out right now. Let's just a whole lot, right? Everything is done for a reason. And the Bulldogs do what they do for a reason. They hold it down in their city. Now, I hear a lot of Vatos. They go back and forth, you know, wolfing with whoever they wolf with. And I heard Vatos say, well, the Bulldogs are on Gilligan's Island with the skipper too. You know what I mean? They're not going anywhere. But I've seen Perro Chatos, man, everywhere. They're everywhere, Holmes. Maybe not deep in your city like that, of course. You know what I mean? That's just like Norteño's not in LA. You're not going to see too much of it, but believe they wiggle through there. So it's okay. Everyone's going to go hit Disneyland once upon a time. She be my old lady. We want to hit Disneyland. She does. I'll go with her. You know what I mean? But that's just how it is. All I know is, you know, with this guy Paya, he's recognized and representing the Bulldogs. This old school F-14 mentality that he has. You know, I've seen it before. It makes me chuckle and laugh because he reminds me of every perro that I've ever met. I've met real ones like Cisco Aguilar, you know, K9 and so many other ones. And he reminds me of them. You know what I mean? The apples don't fall far from the trees in Fresno. Them old school Vatos got an old school vibe. Whereas the new Bulldogs, they're fucking crazy, right? But them old school ones are more serio. And they remind me of a Norteño or a Sureño. It's just the way it is. I'm not trying to fucking disrespect them. I'm just saying at the end of the day, it's what it is with me. That's the way I look at it. You know, ultimately, I'm not sure if this guy was convicted of what they're trying to say he did, these conspiracies to commit murder. They're trying to say they have him on tape, that he was calling shots from within the prison system to homeboys on the streets that were calling shots to the youngsters. Ain't that the story of the life, right? The life we live. You know, everyone's going to come up with a decision. There's always going to be Vatos that make that ultimate decision. And if you respect them enough to adhere to that and do that, then that's what it is. But I'm not necessarily saying right here that Paya is leadership. It's baffling to me that they would even say that Bulldogs have leadership, but maybe they do. Maybe the times have changed and I just don't know it yet. Anyways, with that being said, gente, I just wanted to throw a quick one out there to let you know, hopefully, that you understand that Gunner is not forgotten, man. I'm going to be banging over there on the Gunners collective clips today. We got a whole lot going on, man. I appreciate everybody. Thank you guys for all the support. We're going live this week. When? I don't know. Pensan la tira. For the people, by the people. Raza, I'm back. Baby, I'm back. For real, dog. For real, dog. For real, dog. She's the skonka in the movie. I'm not the hero. She's a zero. My lady, I love her. Anyways, with that being said, hope that you move with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming to you. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about that strive to struggle and that struggle to strive. We're going to continue to do what we does right here on Gunners Collective, man. You continue to support and respect it, man. And thank you. I appreciate you. Shout out to all the other channels, to my boy Dubs. You already know, Food and Felons and all the real ones, man. Shout out some respects. Nothing but love, man. The shit don't stop with me here. You know what it be like, man. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle for what I honestly and truly believe in. And that's black and brown and putting game down in. We have the blocks, have the hood, so from the ghetto projects to the barrios. Bang, bang. Gun.